Welcome back to The Progenitor. This is the podcast where we go over a director's entire filmography, talking about themes, scenes, pacing, and give a brief review all within 30 minutes or less. So let's get started. Ridley Scott is back. He is back in outer space. We are talking sci-fi again, but this is a little different. This time, we're secluded. We're shanghaied on Mars. This next movie is called The Martian. For some reason, Golden Globes decided to nominate it as one of the best comedies of the year. But it's funny, but it's not that funny. But yeah, this is one of Ridley Scott's greatest films, and I'm gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into filming because I didn't really do the background on this one, so I'm going off a Letterboxd and just some spare notes. Let's talk about a brief plot description. So you got this whole team of astronauts. We're talking about Jessica Chastain, Sebastian Stan, Michael Pena, and you got Mark Watney, played by Matt Damon. Okay, so they're on Mars. They're doing some research and stuff, and then there's this huge storm coming. So they decide to evacuate Mars, but unfortunately, Mark Watney is separated from his team, and he gets knocked out. And when he wakes up, he's shanghaied on Mars, while his whole team had actually escaped. And Jessica Chastain is so filled with guilt. She wanted to go back and get him, but like if they didn't leave right at that moment, the whole crew would have died. So I think she made a good choice. So basically, the rest of the film is NASA and all the space programs are working together to try to get Mark Watney back because he's able to get a signal to Earth. And basically, he's also created his own farming colony. Like he started farming potatoes out of poo. He created his own source of water, which is really cool. They scienced this whole thing up. Like it's such an interesting film, and it is funny. And one of the things that I love about it is it's full of hope. One thing that we're missing from Exodus, Gods and Kings. And also, it's a shorter title. Like I said, they could have just went with Exodus and it would have been great. But yeah, okay. So they shot a lot in Jordan and they shot in Hungary. And they had about 20 sets constructed for this film. And that's crazy. Where they shot in Jordan is called Wadi Rum, and they had sets from other Mars films like Mission to Mars, Red Planet, and The Last Days on Mars. That's hilarious. Okay, anyways. Yeah, so I gave y'all a quick plot description, brief review. Oh, this movie's excellent. I highly recommend it. It's one of Ridley Scott's most hopeful films, actually. And it's one of his most joyful films. It has this joy and hope of humanity, actually. So I've created my top lists of Ridley Scott films, like ranking them all, and currently it's number 7 behind The Duelists, and that shows a lot because I really love The Duelists. Every viewing gets better and better for me, and it's the same for The Martian. I hadn't seen it since it first came out, and I watched that in IMAX. And sometimes you're afraid. You're afraid to watch a film again because you don't know if it's going to have the same feel to it. If you're going to have that same elation of watching it, the same joy, but it's all there. Like, I didn't get as emotional as I probably would have like the first time. I definitely think I had some tears the first time I saw it, but it still hit me in the gut. and it was still very, very good, very well shot, and yeah, well paced too. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about a little bit about the crew. And I am currently looking at Letterbox. We all know Ridley Scott directed and produced it. You have Mark Huffam, who actually did the previous film, um, Exodus, and we talked about him a little last time. Simon Kinberg, which is an interesting name. He did a lot of the X-Men films and a lot of the Fox Marvel movies like Logan and Deadpool. And then you got Michael Schaefer. He's a returnee too. He did The Counselor and he did freaking Exodus. And then you got a lot of people actually. There's a lot of producers. I'm just going to do Drew Goddard, who he directed Cabin in the Woods and Bad Times at the El Royale, both really fun films. And then Aditya Sood, what does she do? Oh, okay. So she did Deadpool 1 and 2, Murder on the Orient Express. And then you have Diala Al Ray, who did Rogue One, which is really interesting. So the script was written by Drew Goddard, which he wrote Cloverfield. He wrote The Cabin in the Woods. He also wrote Bad Times in El Royale. All are very dark but really fun little screenplays. They're actually really good pop culture as well. Like they're just super fun. And then the the movie is based off a novel written by Andy Weir, who's gone on to write a bunch of other sci-fi books like Hail Mary, Artemis, and yeah, let's keep going. Pietro Scalia, he's back, and you can tell. I don't know what it is, but like the editing is so good in this film, the pacing so good. This movie moves by so quickly. I think it's only like, oh, it's 2 hours 21 minutes. It don't feel it. It goes by much quicker than that. And then you have Darius Wolski doing something I didn't know he could do, bringing light and hope. And I wish he had done that in Exodus again. Although I will say he doesn't shoot it like John Matheson, and I kind of still miss John Matheson's style, just like the epic scope, but also having this brightness. I don't know. Anyways, let's continue. Arthur Max is back. I think, what is this, his 10th or 11th film already? And this production design is clean cut when it comes to NASA. And when it comes to Mars, oh, you don't want to be there, folks. It's just barren, but it's amazing. This is such a beautiful film. And it's kind of like one of those total package films. I already kind of went over Ridley Scott collabs, so it's actually Arthur Max's 10th film and Darius Wolski's 4th film. So they're really getting good with this vibe because Darius Wolski continues to work with Ridley Scott even till now. So, they've definitely established their vibe. As for Wife's Corner, I watched this with my mother-in-law and my wife, and they clearly enjoyed it a lot. And coming up to the end of the film, it gets tense, but it's just an amazing tenseness of hope and joy. And when they save Mark Watney, spoiler alert, which they do, and you should have already watched it before you listen to this. But when they save him, you feel your heart just like jump. You know what I mean? Great feeling. All right. Themes: empower female characters. Ding, ding, ding. You got a lot of number one, NASA astronauts. Number two, scientists on the ground that are females, that are doing their job, that are being proficient and strong and just killing it, trying to get back to Mark Watney and save his life. Definitely there. Nature space is a hostile and uncontrollable environment. This whole movie is about that. If you go out on Mars without your spacesuit, you're dead. You're in a vacuum. You're not coming back. Dude, it's crazy. And the land is barren. There's barely any food. Like Mark Watney had to like find all the poo and make that into fertilizer and then create his own potatoes. Come on. That's crazy. Age does not mean a thing. I don't know about it. Ding ding ding. I think so. You know, you got the head of NASA who's played by Jeff Daniels, but then you got like Donald Glover, and you've got like Kate Mara, Sebastian Stan, Mackenzie Davis. You have all these younger scientists that are working together to figure out how to save Mark Watney. And then you have Sean Bean, who's older, and Jeff Daniels, who's older, and they're trying to be, Jeff Daniels is just trying to sell this as best as he can without making NASA look terrible. And Sean Bean is just trying to get his guy back safely. So, all in all, like everyone steps up in this film, but definitely the younger scientists, like played by like Donald Glover, for sure. Age does not mean a thing. Do not trust rich people. Money is coveted, and distrust of authority. That's a little less here, but it does show at times. So ding ding ding, like a light ding ding ding. Basically, Jeff Daniels is the company spokesperson, so a lot of people don't trust him as much because he doesn't want NASA to look bad. And then you have all these other people that are working on the in the background trying to figure things out, and they don't always keep Jeff Daniels in the loop because he might squash them in terms of their decisions. So they're just trying to do their own thing, trying to get a plan together that's good enough. So, and at the same time, I think Jeff Daniels is probably one of the richer guys in the team because he's always decked out in nice suits and stuff. So I I don't know. They do trust him in the end, but it's hard to get to that point because the decisions leading up to that, they think he's against them, and then sooner or later it coalesces, they come together. You know what I mean? Anyways, violence don't solve a thing. Brains do. This whole movie is about brains. This whole movie is about how do we science the shit out of this thing? How do I survive the next freaking 2 months or however long it takes for the astronauts to get back to Mars and save me? And on top of that, I gotta get this. I gotta get this rover, and then I gotta shoot myself into space, but empty the whole thing out, and then I'm gonna be in a parachute basically in space, blah blah blah. It's all about using your brain and doing the best that you can. Happy wife, happy life. I think some of the astronauts had wives. They're pretty happy, but they're not as happy when their spouses are in space. But I don't think it really goes into that when I think about it. So, Battle of the Sexes. This whole movie is about mankind coming together, male and female. So I don't know if there's a battle of the sexes as much in this film, but if anything, it's a battle of guilt because Jessica Chastain is battling herself because she feels like she left Mark Watney, but like the rest of the team is trying to like tell her it's not your fault. We all would have died if you hadn't gotten on the ship and let us go. So it kind of makes sense. Do not trust robots, androids. Not in this film. There's no robots or androids other than like regular robots that like don't talk or have personalities. They're just like machines. You know what I mean? The afterlife, death, God. There's definitely feelings of death, a fear of death in this film, and there are moments of people with faith. But yeah, the God portion is not as much, but definitely death, afterlife, and having faith in the human condition to like save him. Um, let's go to some favorite scenes of mine. I definitely I love everything on Mars with Mark Damon. Like every single scene, whenever he's making fun of his like Jessica Chastain's music, when he's trying to plan how to make the potatoes. And then there's one point when an accident happens, and like the whole potato field gets destroyed. The tunnel that he enters, the life-saving area, explodes, and so all of a sudden he's stuck in this little rover, and then he has to drive all the way to another location. Um, Everything in NASA is really good. This movie is so well acted. You have Chiwetel Ejiofor too. You have Benedict Wong. His character is really funny. It's just, guys, what do I have to say to make you watch this movie? I don't have to say that much because it's just awesome. And guess what? The freaking score, Harry Gregson Williams, welcome back. It's a freaking great score. It's got like these really interesting musical instruments that I can't seem to lock down on. And it's just, guys, seriously, watch this movie. I'm trying to lock down on specific scenes, and it they're there. It's just really tough because it's just so many. And then the freaking end where Mark Watney has to like um shoot himself into outer space in this completely like emptied out shell of an old spaceship, and then at the same time some of the astronauts are kind of doing like a walk on their ship to go help get Mark Watney, and it's just full of so much anxiety, but like excitement and editing. It, oh man, this movie is so well paced. It just moves so smoothly. I really like Pietro Scalia's editing. Like every single film he does with Ridley Scott, I feel has not been wrong. And again, beautifully shot, a lot more hopeful than Exodus, but like at the same time, I'm starting to get a feeling that Darius Wolski likes the grime. So there's a lot more gray and a lot more shadow to his work. So yeah, I mean, if you look at just any film Darius Wolski has done with Tim Burton, you'll understand where I'm going with this. I mean, Sweeney Todd is a dark film, and freaking did he do so? Yeah, definitely Sweeney Todd. Oh, freaking A, he did The Crow. That's a dark film. So yeah. Oh, and Alice in Wonderland. Ugh, not a great film. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. It's a must watch. Let's see what's up next, guys. Let us see what is up next. Up next, folks, we have a return. We have a return to sci-fi horror. We have a return to a universe that Ridley Scott helped create. We have a return to the xenomorphs. Welcome back to the Alien universe with Ridley Scott's next film, Alien Covenant. All right, let's see where it's showing. Well, according to Letterboxd, same problem. iTunes, Amazon, Google Movie Plays, but you either gotta buy it or rent it. And at one point, I do know it was a bundle package with Prometheus. Alien Covenant, Prometheus was for $14.99. I think it went up to $19.99. It's definitely worth it for Prometheus, But let's find out how I feel about Alien Covenant next time we talk. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.